Hello my fellow weirdos, my name is Maria Williams, welcome back to my channel. For today's video we are going to be reviewing Miscreations, a selection of short stories by various different authors, all inspired by Frankenstein and his monster. Hello my fellow weirdos, as I said, today we are reviewing Miscreations. This is a collection of short stories and poems, and all of the various authors involved were given the same brief, that it was to be about, well, inspired by Frankenstein and the creation of his monster, hence the title, Miscreations. Ta-da! Look at that cover, guys. Look at it. Ooh. I read it on Kindle, hence why I have a little pretend copy here, rather than a physical copy to hold up to you guys. So I thought what I would do is kind of give you a very, very brief idea of what each of the stories were about without any spoilers, don't worry, and let you know which ones I liked and which ones I didn't. So yeah, there's quite a lot of shorts in here, so we'll kind of go through it sort of quickly, you know, like little snippets rather than full-blown review of each individual, because then I'll review the whole thing overall. So we start off with an introduction by Alma Katsu. You'll be familiar with her. She wrote The Hunger and The Deep, which is coming out, I believe, in May. And she sort of introduces the concept of the monsters that are created by ourselves, both literally and figuratively. And the authors were told to interpret the inspiration as widely or as specifically as they wanted. So you'll see that there are stories which are directly linked to Frankenstein, and then there are stories which have just gone way, like, whew, in another world that you would never have necessarily associated with it. And it's wonderful to see all the different interpretations of that particular topic and the varying results of that. There are a couple that for me didn't really hit the mark, but on the most part, everything was amazing. So we'll go through each one. So the first one is called Heart Arrhythmia, Creeping into a Dark Room by Michael Wehunt. First of all, that title is utter perfection to me. That one took the concept of the book itself and being asked to create a short story for the book and made that how the monster was created. So this is about Michael Wehunt himself, the author, writing the short story for the collection Miscreations in question, and his anxiety, his issues with anxiety and fear, his writer's block, his concerns about the story. Those are the monsters that he is creating, and then it's kind of literally kind of coming alive almost. I really, really enjoyed that story. I thought it was a really unique way to take a negative like writer's block, because you've been told to write something about Frankenstein and you're not getting inspired by that, but he took that and then made the writer's block like almost the monster, and I thought that was really inspired. Then we have Matryoshka by Joanna Parpins. I'm so sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Matryoshka by Joanna Perpinski. I think that's right. It is about Russian dolls, but these are Russian dolls with a difference, where you can kind of create life if you put a seed in the middle, the little doll in the middle, and then all the dolls around it. You can create your very own monsters or children, as the case may be, and about a woman kind of confronting her own mother, about where she came from, her origin story, and the things that she has created inadvertently using this method. Then we have A Butcher's Blend by Brian Hodge. This was one of my favourites. It takes place in a dystopic future where all of those who are considered to be different or wrong in some way, so if they're gay, or they even include things like people who play Dungeons and Dragons and roleplay games and read Harry Potter and stuff like that, so we're all screwed. Anybody who's perceived as being wrong in some way and against the god is being re-educated in these camps, and if you go to the camp too many times and can't be deemed to be re-educated, the butcher literally butchers you on stage. So they'll take a leg or an arm or a cheek or something. They'll disfigure you in some way so that you permanently have to walk around with this reminder of what a freak or abnormality you are. And that includes anybody who dares to dissent or speak out against this horrible dictatorial government. And it follows a girl who's there because she's bisexual, and this is all about the monster of hate, that hate creates monsters. I really, really enjoyed that story. I thought it was brilliant. Then we have Operations Other Than War by Nadia Bulkin, which sort of explores the idea that what is the monster to one individual and one group of people and one country is in fact the saviour to another. And it explores this kind of war between, a fictional war between America and a fictional Middle Eastern country and their great big war machine creation, their big monster, and how to the United States it was seen as this barbaric, terrifying, you know, awful monstrosity, but to the people who created it, it was their saviour. It's very interesting. One Day of Inside Out by Linda D. Addison, where people suddenly and without any explanation turn inside out. And there's no cause, there's no cure. And it seems that it's kind of caused by their actions and past wrongdoings. I quite enjoyed that one as well. We've got One Last Transformation by Josh Mallory. This was one of my favourites as well, but oh my god, is this a dark story. It follows a werewolf, an elderly werewolf now, he's like 80, and explores him as he is trying to stop transforming. In this story, it's your choice as a werewolf if you want to transform. So you can't use the curse as an excuse or a remedy for all those people that you killed. You can't say it was not my fault, it was the beast. You have the decision to not transform and to not kill anybody. But the sheer exhilaration that you get, the vitality that your body experiences when you transform means that a lot of people do, and the killing is just kind of a part of it, and that gives you this great strength and longevity and virility. And this gentleman, he's 80, he's old, the transformations are kind of physically getting to him, and he is saying that he doesn't want to have any more transformations, that he's done. But as you can tell from the title, there's going to be one last transformation. It was brilliant. It really captured that sort of addicted, like the flaws and horror of addiction. You know, that trying to give something up that you know is bad, but finding ways to justify doing it just one last time, you know, as many people addicted to many things would. But there's some, I'm not going to spoil it, but my God, it really, I had to like take a moment after I read it because I was like, yeah, it's dark. Then we have Brains by Ramsey Campbell, which is like set up like a chat room, and it's in a forum about people discussing the various old Frankenstein movies. I didn't particularly like that one, to be honest. It didn't land with me. Maybe because I didn't know half of the actors or anything they were talking about. I've seen a lot of the old original Frankenstein movies, but I couldn't tell you who the actors are, and if I didn't even realize that some of them were in multiple movies and stuff. So maybe if I knew more or was more of a film nerd, that would have landed home with me or something. I don't know, but I just didn't really get it, to be honest. But it was very much the kind of cancel culture idea, the online hate type thing. And how it's very easy for people to say things from behind a keyboard, but when confronted with someone in real life, are they going to? And that could take a very dark turn. You Are My Neighbour by Max Booth, about a child who realises there's a locked room in his neighbour's basement and becomes curious as to what's there, and there's a child of sorts in that room, and he rescues that child. It's good, it's dark, it's very creepy, very creepy. Then we have The Vodjanoi by Christina Singh, which is a poem, and it's about a captor who is kind of poisoned and then turned into a myth. I like poetry, I do, and I try to read poetry when I can, and horror poetry can be particularly good. This one was alright. There was another poem that didn't land with me, but that one wasn't bad. We have Imperfect Clay by Lisa Morton, which makes it's like more like a young adult kind of fantasy about this girl who's studying to be a witch, magician type thing, and she makes a human out of clay, which is a very difficult spell to achieve, and she obviously makes her own boyfriend out of clay. I didn't like that one. It had that whole young adult vibe that I just wasn't particularly fussed on. Spectral Evidence by Victor Laval. This is about a kind of psychic or like palm reader in a shop who has a customer come in and there are kind of tragic consequences after that meeting, and it's about how grief and regrets are kind of monsters all of their own. It was very beautiful and very heartbreaking. I really liked that one. I think that really, it captured grief really beautifully. We have Ode to Jode the Toad by Laird Barron, another fantastic title, if I may say so myself, which is a fantasy about like a toad assassin in this like fantasy world, and he's part of a coup to overthrow the king, and then he gets kind of like poisoned, and the poison causes hallucinations, and but like the hallucinations become real because it's this sort of type of poison that makes it all real. I really enjoyed this one. This snippet of this world made me just want to know more, you know, because they mention all these things that have happened that they're clearly not going to go into. It's a short story. They're not going to go into the background of this entire history of this realm. But I would love to hear more about it, because it's like, it's like all those kind of World of Warcrafty type, like that kind of a world, but a very, very dark and murderous and dangerous and bloody one. So yeah, I really like that one. I enjoyed it. Then we have Only Bruises Are Permanent by Scott Edelman, about a woman who's in a kind of toxic and crappy relationship between her and her partner. It leads to violence. He chokes her and she gets the kind of bruises tattooed permanently. Becomes incredibly hardened, and then she becomes almost like proud of her injuries, like they are who she is now, that she is the abuse type thing. She's been made a monster by what happened. It was very cool. I liked it. My Knowing Glance by Lucy Snyder is like an angel virus. It's weird to say, but there's a virus that infects people, and it either kills them or it turns them into like angels. Because this is leading up to the end of days, basically. And it's about a prostitute whose client, doesn't infect her with the virus, but lets her know that she's going to be one of the angels, basically. She's going to survive the end of days. And it kind of creates this monster out of her, because human life no longer has any real meaning anymore. I enjoyed that. It was very good. We have Paper Doll Hyperplane by R.B. Payne, which is like a serial killer mathematician. This guy who realizes there's like a formula to the sort of various layers of reality, and he wants to experiment and explore that particular reality. And what he does is he makes paper doll chain out of literal human beings. He finds girls, he kills them, uses a machine and various maths to send them out of the reality, knowing that they will return, believing they will return, and they do, into this reality, better, stronger type thing, and then the repercussions that has for him. And I really enjoyed that one, even though sometimes I didn't necessarily understand the maths. I was never very good at maths. I was an English kind of gal, but you know, I really, really liked that. Then we have Not Eradicated in You by Brandon McLeod, which is a teen summoning a demon because she wants to kind of replace her mother. She wants her absent mother, who is a bit of a bitch when you're reading it, but she wants to be loved, you know. It's kind of it's I really enjoyed it. I normally don't get the teen stuff, to be honest, but this was kind of, it was just really heartbreaking, particularly as a mother, because I would absolutely be devastated if I thought that my daughter didn't feel loved, you know. So I don't really feel overly sorry for the mum on that one. We have Resurrection Points by Usman Malik, which is kind of about it. It's about the Muslim and Christian tensions in the Middle East turning violent, with this family caught in the middle who have the gift of healing. And it's heartbreaking. I think that it perfectly captures the figurative monsters of bigotry, of hate, of intolerance. And then there are literal monsters in it as well, both human and non-human. I thought that was a pretty genius stroke, to be honest. It was a really well written piece. The Old Gods of Light by Christina Singh, which is a poem about kind of like aliens. I really like that one, actually. Then we have Sounds Caught in Cobwebs by Emmy Bronstein, which is like a spider cult. That's the best way to explain it. They believe in this being called the harpist, and that the music that he creates is kind of like the threads that hold the universe together, and that the spiders are part of that. and they have to kind of give themselves as brides to the harpist or the songs will stop. It was strange, but in all the right ways. I really liked it. It created this very... It made me look at spiders a different way, that's for sure. But it created this sort of beautifully woven, literally, with spider webs, kind of new myth. And I really enjoyed that. Then we have Umbra Sham by Christy de Meester, which is brother and sister who are kind of like two halves of the same whole. And there's kind of like an end of world situation with flooding, and it's about transfiguration. And I really liked that one. It was very dark, explores family, relationships, but yeah, interesting. We had A Benediction of Corpses by Stephanie M. Whiteovich, which is a poem from the perspective of Frankenstein's monster. That one was really good. Then we have The Making of Asylum, Philia by Mercedes Yardley, which is about this psychotic mother who is trying to create her own Ophelia, like literally like her own Shakespearean Ophelia. So she raises her daughter to like only ever wear beautiful flowy white nightgowns and to have flowers in her hair. Basically kind of grooming her and training her to one day die tragically so that she can then be the grieving mother. It's effed up to say the least. I really, really enjoyed that one. Finally, we have Frankenstein's Daughter by Theodora Ghost, which kind of follows on with what happened to the monster after Frankenstein, and is even written in that kind of similar way that Dracula is, you know, with the letter from somebody who meets the monster. I really enjoyed that one. I kind of want somebody to turn that into like a film and explore that onwards. So those are kind of like a very quick synopsis of all the various pieces in the book. You can see that people have gone like completely different directions, and that's what's so wonderful about it. Overall, it's a really enjoyable collection. Some of the stories are much stronger than others. Some of them were like, eh, and then there was a couple where I was like, it didn't hit the mark for me at all. But I'm gonna have to give, like, Josh Mallerman's One Last Transformation is particularly amazing. I loved the Butcher's Blend by Brian Hodge. And I'm also going to give a particular shout out to The Making of Asylum, Philia. Thought it was wonderful. So yeah, there's a really wonderful collection, very varied, something for everyone. So I definitely recommend this book, particularly if you're into short fiction, short stories. And I love seeing how everybody just took that same brief and just went in such completely different directions. It's wonderful. The creativity just oozes out of the pages. But that's it, guys. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5, you know. I'm going to have to give it a 5 out of 5. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I'm on fire lately with reading all the good books. So, have you read the book? What did you think? Do you have any other short story collections you'd like to recommend me? I do love me a horror short story collection, so let me know in the comments down below. And hit the bell button, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, let's be friends, so we can talk horror, talk books. Let's put the social into social media. But that's me for now, guys. Bye.